China and luxury. Do they go hand in hand? Or has China appropriated European luxury? And does it call it its own? Hmm. Let's get to it. First, subscribe to my channel, thumb up the video. Let's get to 100K. And everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything's alleged and just my opinion. So just a couple of days ago, a phenomenon started on TikTok, something very strange and bizarre. TikTok started getting flooded with videos from what appeared to be Chinese manufacturers of bags and other goods. These videos, some of them claim that they are selling bags that are just as good, if not better quality, than the luxury bags from Europe, whether they be Hermes, Chanel, Louis Vuitton, Dior, you name it, they claim they have it. Some of those videos were a little bit more specific about, well, the fact that they're selling the same type of product as the luxury brands from Europe are, just for much cheaper, while other videos would claim that they actually make the bags for the luxury brands in Europe, and then they send them off for Europe to put the final stamps, the final seal of approval, quality check, and logo, as well as the Made in Italy, Made in France, Made in Spain stamps, what have you. Everything I say in this video is for entertainment purposes only, not rooted in truths or facts. Everything is alleged and just my opinion. You see, it's not a coincidence that these videos from Chinese manufacturers are popping up right now. And this is a very delicate topic. A lot of people have jumped on this topic and have made videos on many different social media platforms, throwing in their opinions on these allegations. But it is a very delicate topic because it is not a coincidence that these Chinese manufacturers are dropping these videos now. So I'm going to delicately try to explain this without offending anyone. Okay, I have the utmost respect for the United States of America. I have the utmost respect for the European Union. I have the utmost respect also for hardworking Chinese citizens and all the other countries of the world as well. I love people, and I love when a person is honest, dignified, and works honestly. Just to be very clear. But we are in difficult times right now. There are hiccups in the road. Please read between the lines of what I'm saying because certain things just cannot be said. Not on this platform, not today, not under these circumstances, not under these guidelines. But you are intelligent. If you're watching my channel, I know you are intelligent. I know you are. Because you know that we do not touch base on these topics lightheartedly. You know that if you come to my channel, you're going to get a much more in-depth analysis of a situation. So read between the lines. Learn critical thinking. So let's get into this. Given the political situation at the moment between certain countries, it has become much more difficult for certain companies to sell their products abroad. Now, while in the past years, it was much more easy to order, if somebody wanted to, order a dupe of a certain bag style, or in some cases, also some people would order the replica or the fake, which I do not condone. And they would get them in, for example, to the United States without any customs, if the bag would cost under a certain amount, under that de minimis rule of the $800. So stuff would come in from China and you could order your, fake baglets and everything's good. They could just come in and you wouldn't have any customs to pay, nothing. Well, now there's a problem, you see, because certain things have gone up 145%. So now all of a sudden, we have a problem that in order for certain companies to still make profit, they have to find a way to market certain products to you, the consumer, in a way that will make it acceptable for you to pay this surcharge. At the same time, rumors started rising up through other videos that were also posted first on TikTok from some of these companies in China, stating that they are upset that Europe, the European Union, that used to order a lot of the raw materials and a lot of the prefabricated items that they would then assemble in Europe, that they would order a lot of those. They stopped doing that because they're trying to find other suppliers in other countries in order to avoid this whole tariff situation. But you see, Europe and China, they don't have that dilemma. China and America do. So already there, the story doesn't seem to really fit the narrative. All of a sudden, it's kind of like, well, hold on a minute, but there is no problem between Europe and China. Well, why would European companies all of a sudden stop asking Chinese suppliers to supply stuff for them? China and the EU, they don't have the issues that China and the US have. Okay? That was the first problem. Second problem, these bags, and by the way, I've been on YouTube with luxury content since over 10 years now. I have analyzed this to nausea. I'm actually sick and tired of reanalyzing it, but you can go check out my video that I posted, I kid you not, 10 years ago on my channel, back in 2015. That video is still online. That video is now again back in the algorithm and it's getting traction again. Can you believe? My video has been on for 10 years about our luxury brands made in China. That's my video. I'm going to post a link to my own video down below. Go check it out. 10 years old, that video. Now people from TikTok are discovering that video and coming and commenting on video like, oh my God, how did you know all this already 10 years ago? I'm like, girl, listen to me. I always mean well. I always want to share the truth with everybody and I always want to share everything I know with everyone. And yet, people don't like to hear the truth. People want to hear what they want to hear. Back in the day, 10 years ago when I posted my video, people laughed at me. People called me crazy. Now they're going to that video writing, oh my God, you were right all along. We digress. Here's the thing. This, in my opinion, allegedly, is a targeted marketing campaign to sell their dupes, replicas, fakes, to mostly American customers for a surcharge. Because they're going to have to pay more, more import now. The import fees are much higher now. So they made this whole narrative up to tell you, one of those videos even lists like, look, to make the bag for Hermes, it costs them this much for the leather. Then it costs them this much for the time to manufacture, this much for the machines, this much for the marketing. So the Birkin, they claim, costs them $1,000 to make, but they sell it to you for $20,000. That's what the video says, even though the bag is not $20,000 in the Togo leather in particular, but we digress. And then what do they tell you? They tell you, but look, why not go to the source? Us. Why don't you get it from us? We're going to sell it to you for that $1,000 price. The bag that just a year ago you used to sell for $500? Now you found a new little scheme to make the customers feel like, oh my God, this is a steal of a deal. Yeah. Of course, I prefer to spend $1,000 for this bag than $20,000. Yeah, hold on a minute. But the bag was $500 last year from your same supplier. Allegedly. So what is going on here? Methinks somebody's trying to mess up a little bit the U.S. customer. And that is not fair. I don't think that's fair. Now, in commerce and in capitalism, everything is fair. It's about supply and demand. By this, what do I mean? I mean, if the manufacturer from China wishes to charge you $10,000 for a bag and you want to pay that money, that's fair. You know what I mean? Like, you're ready to spend that amount of money. They want that amount of money from you. You want to pay it. That's all good. I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with lying. I have a problem when people start lying. Now, where's the lie? The lie is that, and we're going to have to also talk about the differentiation between higher end luxury brands from Europe and that mid-tier luxury brands from Europe, and then the lower tier. There's a lot of different tiers here. And you have to understand luxury fashion if you really want to get into the nitty-gritty. When it comes to Hermès, Chanel, Dior, Louis Vuitton, like especially Hermès that sits at the pinnacle of luxury bags, there's no way on earth that the original authentic Hermès bag is made in China. It just isn't. Now, hold your horses. Just to be fair, China has the most wonderful history of art and artisans and technology. I mean, China is incredible. It is so advanced and really amazing, amazing products and amazing art still to this day comes out of China, for sure. No doubt about it. Okay? No doubt about it. From the tiny, cute little things like Labubus, which are also from China, which I adore. Okay? From the tiny Labubus to their technology, to their cars. Are you kidding me? China is, I mean, they are really, really, really avant-garde. Like, hands down, no shade to China and no shade to Chinese savoir-faire. Absolutely none. However, if you want a Birkin is a European product. It is a French product. It is a French product that the House of Hermès has put a lot of work, love, and dedication to create, to preserve, to maintain. They put a lot of pride in their work. They really do, you guys. They really do. Because Hermès sits at the pinnacle of luxury, fashion, and leather, they are so proud of their work that they're not going to lie to you. Look, you want an example? They specialize in certain items according to the heritage of the item. So this means for some of their costume jewelry, Hermès really loves to work with specific lacquers, specific woods, and also specific animal horns. There's a lot of their costume jewelry that is made out of these beautifully lacquered horns that are like kind of pendants hanging in many different ways. And the sales associates are very proud to share with you the intel that these items are manufactured in Asia. In countries in Asia that have thousands of years of expertise in working with bone, with horn, with lacquers, and with woods. And they tell you, we decided to manufacture these items in Asia because they're the best at making these items. So when you purchase certain horn items of costume jewelry by Hermès, you will see the stamp proudly placed there of the country of origin where it was manufactured. And they will say that it's made in Asia, in an Asian country. Very clearly. Bear that in mind. When they manufacture something in France, they will say it's made in France. If they manufacture something in Vietnam, they will say it's made in Vietnam, and they will tell you why it's made in Vietnam. Now, as we go down the ladder of these luxury brands, things start getting a little bit more iffy. Now, when it comes to Chanel, for example, they're also very transparent, believe it or not. Yes, they are. You're going to be like, what do you mean, Dacob? What do you mean? Well, for example, did you know that most of the Chanel sales associates' uniforms are made in China. Do you think they cut off the label? No, they leave the label in there. Yes, it's probably to cut costs, to produce the uniforms for their workers that are working in their boutiques. Most of those items are made in China. The classic Chanel uniform for the sales associates is made in China. Some pieces are not, some are. If they are, the label states very clearly made in China. They love making their cashmere in Scotland. Most of their cashmere sweaters are going to clearly state made in the United Kingdom. If an item that they sell to their customer is made in China, they will say it's made in China. Most of their freebies from the beauty boutique, like when you buy a perfume and then they give you a little pin, or when you buy a perfume and then they give you a little trinket, a little tiny bag charm, like a shape of a lipstick, very clearly it says, if it's made in China, it says it's made in China. But also things that you purchase. I actually have here a little item. Hold on. This is the cover of the Chanel Les Exclusives set of 5 little perfumes. And basically, you go into the beauty boutique and you get to choose 5 of these 19 fragrances. By the way, hashtag not sponsored. And you get to choose the 5 you want, and then they put them in a little coffret, in a little box for you. That would be this box. Now, the perfumes are really tiny and cute. They're this size, and you get to choose 5. And what does the packaging state? Very clearly on the box, right down here. Read this. They're very transparent, you guys. It says product made in France, meaning the perfume is made in France. The outer packaging made in China. Now, why are they making their boxes in China? Because it's cheaper for them. But are they lying to you that the box is made in France when it's not? No, they're not. They're very transparent about that. However, I have come to notice that certain tweeds, certain fabrics that are particularly woven, that are particularly manufactured, have a certain quality that is very typical to the savoir-faire of Bangladesh or India. There, I do have my doubts. I do not have proof. I only have my doubts that, let's say they're very proud to say, look, the tweeds are made in our métier d'art ateliers in France. I'm like, yes, I believe you. For the prototypes and the samples that hit the runway, I believe you. But then you're manufacturing on a bigger scale for all the boutiques. You have over 300 or 400 Chanel boutiques in the world, and you got to make a lot of tweed for many different jackets. And particular types of tweeds with particular colors are very specific to certain countries. Like, Bangladesh is very, very good at that. So I have my doubts, if a certain tweed is coming from Bangladesh instead of being woven in France. Allegedly, I have no proof of that. It's just my, that's how far I would push it. In other words, what I'm saying here, let's go a little bit lower down the ladder. Chanel also has its own factories. Outside of Paris, it has a leather factory and a bag factory, but also they subsidize the stuff. So they also make bags and shoes in Italy. Now, this is a little bit more tricky because they don't own the factories in Italy, but they kind of they pay a company to do stuff for them. Now, Italy, we know, has beautiful savoir-faire as well. Wonderful in crafting leather, but Italy also, it has been known since decades now, has a very big problem when it comes to sweatshops. So a lot of the manufacturing that happens in Italy is hidden. It's it's in Firenze and around the entire territory of Firenze and in Milan. And what happens is that in the sweatshops, things are manufactured under terrible conditions. The workers are usually illegally in Italy. Most of them are Asian. Some of them are Chinese. So some people are saying, well, it's the same as if it were made in China. Well, technically no, because it is made on the soil of Italy, but by Chinese hands. Now, there's no proof if Chanel is doing that or not. But a lot of these factories have been busted in the past. A lot have been busted in the past. And this is the situation that we've had last year, if you guys remember, the court case in Milan, Italy, having issues with Dior, LVMH, because somebody discovered that one of the type of bags, I think the book tote or another bag, was being sold to Dior by that third party that manufactured it for Dior in the sweatshops in Italy for $56 or $57, and then the bag was sold ultimately in the boutique for $2,600 or euro. So you see, but that's LVMH. Now we're getting a little bit lower on the scale. Then we can talk about Kering. We can talk about Gucci. We can talk about YSL. Then we can take it a notch lower. It gets dirtier and dirtier the lower the tier of the brand is. And it gets dirtier and dirtier the more the brands become greedy for money. The second you start optimizing profits, the second you have a publicly available company on the stock market, the second you have shareholders, that's the moment where quality starts trickling down. Unless you are not very, 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 very clever and very, very proud of your heritage like Hermes is, because Hermes, they are on the stock market, but they have maintained their quality and they have maintained a slow and steady production. They do not overproduce. They don't do 10 collections a year like Chanel started doing. But Chanel has an advantage. Chanel is a privately owned company, meaning it doesn't have to answer to any shareholders, meaning it doesn't have to prove any numbers to anybody. It has its owners, and their owners are the Wertheimer brothers, and that's it. They don't have to prove anything to any stockholders or shareholders, which means with Chanel, we have ups and downs. We have periods when they need more money or when they want more money, and periods when they are more chill with their money. And I've experienced this firsthand being a Chanel collector for many, many, many decades now. There are moments in time where some of their products, the quality, just in my humble opinion, for my standards, is not there. But then there are times where their quality is wonderful. And then there's also those times when you gotta be clever and you have to know, from this collection, you know what's really good from this collection? The costume jewelry. But don't buy the shoes. But then the next collection, their leather is really good in that collection, but don't maybe buy the silk. You gotta know, you gotta feel it out. It's almost like the batches that arrive, sometimes they're produced perfectly, sometimes, not so much so. That's my experience with Chanel, and it is just my opinion. However, I do love the brand. Just to be very clear, Chanel. Don't come for me. But then with LVMH, there things get a little bit iffy because LVMH also officially stated they actually do have their own factory. Is it in Romania or in Hungary? I think in Romania. Now, technically, it's kind of in the European Union, and the shoes are almost fully manufactured in Romania, but then shipped over to their Italian factory to finalize the production, and then the shoes are claimed to be made in Italy. But still, LVMH claims to maintain that particular factory, that it's its own factory, so they kind of have it under their own control. LVMH is a little bit problematic, as maybe you have not seen, but you can check out the video that I posted just a couple of days ago about the Louis Vuitton LVMH factory in Texas and the issues that they're having with, allegedly, as reported by several news outlets, that 40% of the products that they manufacture in that factory, they have to kind of dispose of because it doesn't pass quality control. There are issues. Luxury fashion is a very complicated, complex colossus, especially when it comes to luxury bags. Okay, we're not even going to touch on watches, cars, because that's a whole other can of worms. Okay, we're just sticking to what has happened now with the TikTok videos, with the bags. They're claiming they're making the leather bags in China for the actual brands in Europe, and they're now outing them. It is a very complicated market, the luxury market. The pricing is also complicated. Certain brands have worked for decades, centuries even, to build up their reputation. They have earned those price tags because they have been around and they have struggled and fought for their position in the luxury field for decades. And that costs money. That costs money. That costs a lot of money. So imagine being somebody, and China has very loosey-goosey copyright laws. Being some company in China saying, oh yeah, the Birkin, okay, let's copy that. I'm like, well, hold on a minute. Hermes has been working on that bag. And well, the Birkin is from the 80s. It's not that old, but the Birkin is inspired by the Huck, which is a little bit older. And then we know that Hermes has been around for also over a century now. They have been working on their prestige and their heritage for 100 years. And now somebody comes along and says, oh, I like this design. Let me snatch it. Let me copy it. Let me take what you have been working on for over 100 years and let me then, sell it at a lower quality, for much less money. To people who maybe cannot afford the real deal. And that's, hey, to each their own. But what I don't like is when they start claiming that that's the authentic bag, because it's not. You can believe whatever you want, for sure. It's a free world, last I checked. But you're free to believe whatever you like. Now, and if they claim that they are from China, the TikTok videos, if they claim that they are the original manufacturer, well, guess what? Even if they were, they aren't anymore. Because no brands would want to work with them now after this expose. Could you imagine making such claims? If they were true claims, if they were really true claims, you really think that any one of the European luxury brands would want to keep on working with them and get outed and get exposed even further? No. It's like chopping your own feet off. It's like saying, you know what I mean? It's like spitting in the plate you're eating from. And literally saying, okay, well, we're never going to have them as customers again. Also, why would they go against the European brands they work with? The brands would make sure those factories get shut down. It all does not add up. Replicas have been around since forever, you guys. Replicas have been around even before China developed their own factories. Let me tell you a little story. When Coco Chanel was still alive, back in the 50s and 60s, there's this really lovely book I recommend you to read. It is a book co-written by Coco Chanel and Paul Morand called The Allure of Chanel. In one of the chapters of the book, she describes this going to through the streets of Paris, on the market, through the markets on the streets, not the supermarket, but just like street markets. And she claims that she saw an imitation of one of her jackets, tailleurs, and a bag. And the people asked, oh my God, were you in shock? Were you appalled? Were you upset? She's like, no, I was thrilled. I ran to them and I said, oh, my little Chanels. And they asked her, why were you happy that somebody was copying you? She said, because once my designs make it onto the streets for regular people, everybody to afford them, that means that I am no longer fashion. I have become rooted into the culture of this nation. Now I am an icon because everybody wants Chanel. I am no longer fashion. Now I am style. Interesting. And this was when, back in France. So who was copying her bags and her clothes in the 50s and in the 60s? It was probably somebody who had a little manufacturing business going on in France outside of Paris somewhere. So, you know what I mean? Back in the day, the copies of Chanel bags were probably also made in France. Now things have gotten more fast and quick, and now things are produced by the gazillions in China. So there's a different way of copying things. But what I want to say is, this is not a problem that exists just today. Oh, like now we're discovering that fakes exist. They've existed all this time. But don't get fooled. Those are not authentic bags that they're trying to sell you in these videos. When they're sending you the link, to buy these things, or the WhatsApp numbers to call them up, just be careful. They're not authentic. I'm not saying they're worse quality. I'm not saying they're worse quality. And I'm not saying, look, you know how it is. The law is very different from morals. What is legal and what is illegal is not always moral or amoral. Just to be very clear. From a legal standpoint, I do not condone replicas or fakes. Okay. From a moral standpoint, I don't judge. From a moral standpoint, I don't judge. If you want to buy the replica or the fake, that's on you. But I just don't want you to get tricked into believing that you're buying an authentic product from these companies from China, when they claim that they're selling you an authentic Birkin, an authentic Chanel bag, an authentic Dior bag. You do you. You want to buy the replica, get the replica, but don't let them trick you into spending more money for it because they claim that it's real. If it's a replica, okay, fine. But then charge me a fair price. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying they're worse quality, okay? But I can tell the difference. The way they are made, the way they smell, the material they use inside. It's very, very particular. And in my video from 10 years ago, I already talk about that. From back in 2015, I tell you, there's a specific smell of the leather of an authentic luxury Chanel bag or Hermes bag. They just smell different. The leather is treated differently. The final touches are different. The subtleties are different. Now, also be very careful. And this breaks my heart because these companies know exactly who their target audience is. They know who their customers are. They know who was buying their products before the tariffs kicked in. They know. They know. They know. They have all their contacts. They have all their numbers. So now they made these videos to post on TikTok to target a specific demographic. Be clever. Don't let them fool you. Now, my channel, my videos are flooded with comments of people becoming kind of nasty and saying stuff like, yeah, you loser, haha, you're the one who's been duped because you've been spending all this money on the authentic version when you could have gotten it all this time from China. I'm like, wait, hold on a minute. People that leave such comments, they don't bother me. I don't care. It just shows me that there's a lot of people out there that are so ignorant. They have no clue. Maybe they lack education. Maybe they're just really gullible. Maybe it's really, really easy to trick them into believing anything you want them to believe. I guess one of the reasons why we're where we are. But that's the point. Start being clever. Realize what is going on. And I repeat, nothing against getting whatever you want to get, but just don't believe that it's authentic. And if you really want an authentic bag, but you are not so sure if what you're buying pre-loved or from these brands is authentic or not, then go to a luxury brand. I know it can be a little bit scary if you never went in before, because they always look so polished and the staff is always dressed up and they're always standing and it always looks kind of scary to enter for the first time. I get it. But if you overcome that hurdle of that fear and you actually do go in and then you ask, look, I'm looking to buy this specific bag. Can I see one before I decide to purchase it? You look at it, you feel it, you touch it, you smell it. And then you say, thank you, I'll think about it. Now you have a memory of how it actually is supposed to feel, how it's supposed to smell, and how it actually really looks, not on a photo, but in real life. With these tactile experiences, olfactory experiences, visual experiences, you can go out of that store and then you can go and experiment and experience the other alternatives out there. The dupe, the replica, smell it, feel it, look at it, and then make up your mind. And there are some really good replicas out there, you guys. Some are incredibly well made. They are. But I've never encountered a single replica that smelled the same way like the actual bag from Hermes smells. Never. Not once. They smell like great leather, but it's a different smell. And it's also a different feel. So you can continue to come to my channel, to, the comment sections and say whatever you want to say, evil, or, that calling me stupid, I've been the one. That's okay. You can do that. I'm not going to be angry with you. I just want you to open your eyes and smell the coffee. And also smell the bags, because they do smell amazing. This is really important, you guys. Don't let them trick you. Those same bags, the dupes that they're selling as authentic, cost less last year. They're just trying to find new ways to make you pay the surcharge because of the 145% surcharge that happened. So they're looking for ways to make you pay more. So they're inventing these stories. And I don't want to see the consumer getting tricked and duped. I really don't. And to end it, I want to say that a dear friend of mine who worked for Balmain told me that for all of their intricate beaded items with all the beads, the crystals, and the pearls, allegedly, I have to say allegedly, all the fabrics get sent over from Bangladesh, from India. The prototype is made in France. The design is made in France. Then they send them the sample. And then in Bangladesh and in India, they manufacture the whole rolls of all of the fabric that they need with all of the beads and the pearls added. And then they ship it back to France, where things get assembled. And then it says made in France on the tag, allegedly. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below. I hope I was clear and not offensive to anybody, because let's be very clear about this. This is not about the money. Coco Chanel said, luxury is not the opposite of poverty. Luxury is the opposite of vulgarity. So bear that in mind. Said by Coco Chanel herself. Love you loads. Never give up on love. Subscribe!